still think they're going to be a 12-14.
12-4, 11-5. We can see it.
Still going to win the division.
Yeah, the division's so weak.
Second round.
Yeah. It's an interesting.
But they're still going to be a playoff team.
Oh, no question. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Boston Sports Live, coming to you from the hall at Patriot Place in Foxborough. I'm Chris Gasper, joined by Boston Globe NFL writer Ben Volen. Training camp does not officially kick off, at least with the public practice portion, until tomorrow, but it's been a busy couple of days here in Foxborough as the Patriots continue to deal with the aftermath of the Aaron Hernandez murder charge here. Yesterday, it was Bill Belichick, his turn to address the media for the first time since the former Patriots tight end was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Today, it was the turn of some of the players. The Patriots made some captains available, including Tom Brady, and they addressed the situation for the first time. Brady saying it's a terrible thing that happened. It's a sad day. It's a sad situation. There's a human element here anytime somebody on your football team is involved in something like this. He also said there's a compassionate element involved in it. He struck a very similar tone to Bill Belichick, and there were other players who spoke, Devin McCourty, Gerard Mayo, Vince Wilfork. Ben, what was your general sense sort of the way the players addressed this? Do you feel they took their cues from Belichick? Was there anything that surprised you that a player said regarding Aaron Hernandez?
No, I wasn't really surprised at all. They clearly took their cues from Bill Belichick. I was listening in on Devin McCourty and Jared Mayo and Wilfork also. And they all said the same thing pretty much as Belichick did yesterday. Just incredibly saddened that one of their teammates and someone involved with the organization could be involved in a murder charge, whether or not he's exonerated or not. Just being involved with it, a young man being killed in this, it's just a real tragedy all around. And, Devin McCourty even said he was pretty shocked to hear about the news. And, I mean, he couldn't believe that someone he knew would be involved in this. Obviously, they couldn't comment too much because of the similar to what Belichick said yesterday. So we're not going to be hearing them pour their hearts out or talking about what kind of guy Hernandez was off the field. But, they just talked about the shock of it all and the sadness, the contrition, and just being able to move forward. And, I mean, there is a football season still to be played here. They've got to be able to block this stuff out and move forward.
Yeah, I think that was a big theme, wanting to move forward. Brady was a little reticent, I think, to share his feelings. He was asked, how did you feel? And he said, that's personal. He said, I'm sure I felt the way a lot of people felt. Also, interestingly enough, he was asked, since Aaron had been involved, embroiled in the investigation, and then subsequently arrested and ultimately charged, have you spoken with him? And he said, well, Stacey James, who's the vice president of media relations here, advised me not to talk about that. So it's a reminder, obviously, it's an ongoing investigation. There are things they can't say. But I agree with you. They very much want to sort of move on to the football part here. But I think it's important for them to acknowledge, as Belichick did, that this is a real-world situation that happened, and there's more important things than winning football games. I think that was important for them to acknowledge, and they did.
I think the Patriots all around, between Bob Kraft speaking to us a couple weeks ago, Belichick yesterday, and the players today, they've struck the right tone with this. It's not your classic Patriots where they're trying to stick their head in the sand and we're only talking about football and the people on the team. They've realized this is bigger than football. This goes beyond the field. It's a real tragedy when you're talking about the death of a young man. And so they struck the right chord in terms of being able and willing to talk about it, being open about it, saying how sorry they are and how contrite they are with this whole thing, and really putting, I think, the human life first above whatever may come with the football team. So certainly I think they've done a good job in striking the right chord. So they did a good job in addressing it today, acknowledging it, putting their face out there, being good representatives of the organization. Now moving forward, now that this is all out of the way, they've ripped the Band-Aid off, now they can move forward to football.
I think that's a good question, Ben. Is this all out of the way? I mean, obviously there's some question about Carlos Ortiz, who's involved in this, has mentioned that there were players at the alleged flop house that Aaron Hernandez maintained in Franklin. Bill Belichick was asked about that and alluded to the fact that they're trying to get all the information they can on that. Obviously, the legal proceedings will continue here. It's not like this Aaron Hernandez. He's no longer on the team, right? But he's still very much associated with the Patriots. this is not necessarily going away for them.
No, there's nothing they can do about that. There could be a potential lawsuit maybe from the family. Some of these guys might get called to the witness stand. When details emerge about this apparent flop house, things could get really messy. And then, of course, I think an ongoing story, too, is how are the Patriots, if at all, going to change their ways in terms of selecting players and background research and security departments. It's an ongoing story. I know the Patriots, they want it to go away, and they've done a good job of putting the right spin on it and a good face. But, yeah, there's nothing they can do about it. When more facts about this case come up and the trial gets going in days or months or years, I mean, this thing might drag on for a while. So this story is going to be an ongoing story for the Patriots.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, Bill Belichick, as you said, set the tone yesterday with his remarks. I thought he was pretty poignant, pretty open and honest, at least for him, talking about being shocked and saddened, shocked and disappointed. Ben, just curious for your thoughts on the way Belichick addressed the situation yesterday. Were you surprised at the way he addressed it, or was that what you were expecting?
Yeah, maybe I'm naive because I'm the new guy, but I actually thought he would handle it the way he did yesterday. Because, again, this is beyond football. This isn't a 4th and 2 call. This is, like I said, a murder charge and someone that he was involved with bringing to the organization being involved in this heinous act, allegedly, of course. So he would have gotten destroyed nationally if he went up there and said, "I'm only here to talk about players who are on the team." It would have been a really bad look for the Patriots. Looks like they're just running from responsibility. So they owned up to it. Very good job by Bill Belichick and the rest of the organization for at least owning up to it and taking some part of the story here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he showed some humanity there, and I think that was the important thing, was to acknowledge, as they all have at this point, that there's more important things than football. You can't just be a football automaton. That's all that you care about. That's the most important thing, because it's not in this situation. I thought that set a really good tone for the team. He was very heartfelt. I thought he was very genuine in his remarks. I thought that was really important. And I thought something that struck me here was at one point when he said, "I'm not trying to bury the story," which is something I think a lot of people probably expected from him. Just that open acknowledgement of the fact that this is a serious issue and we understand it's not necessarily going to go away, even though we don't want to talk about it.
Right. I think people wanted him to talk about it right away. When it happened, it did take him over a month to finally get up on that lectern and address everything. He was in Europe and on vacation, and so was Robert Kraft. So I get it why you don't want to, change all your plans for this thing and why it took them some time. But it was good finally after a month to put a face on it and for him to get up in front of the organization, in front of the media, and really take ownership of this. And I thought it was interesting how in his opening statement he said, "Look, I understand there are questions. They're fair." I mean, he didn't chastise the media for having some of these questions. He understands, what it's all about. So he showed some really good perspective, I thought. After his statement, he did kind of hide behind the, there's an ongoing investigation, so we can't say much. So he did kind of hide behind that answer, and so did some of the players today. But, that's to be expected, of course, because, like I said, there is an ongoing legal matter, and there might be a lawsuit, of course. You don't want to give any ammo for any potential lawsuit. So they had to be very guarded, but I still thought they did a good job of striking the right tone.
Let's talk a little bit now about the football aspect of this, as we all acknowledge, and the Patriots have too, is secondary to the seriousness and gravity of what's going on with Aaron Hernandez being charged with first-degree murder, and Odin Lloyd, the victim here, having lost his life, his family having lost a son, a brother, and his friends losing a friend. But from the football side of it, Hernandez is a loss. That has to be acknowledged when we talk about football. This was a guy that last year, coming out of camp, they were really sort of looking to build the offense around in a lot of ways, and then they shifted back to Wes Welker once Aaron went down in the season opener. Gronkowski on PUP, Wes Welker no longer here. This could be a challenging season. How do you see this offense?
I don't think there's any question that they're going to have to change their schemes and change their philosophies on offense. You can't just remove Gronk and Aaron Hernandez and plug in Daniel Fells and Jake Ballard and expect them to be the same type of players and the same type of offense. Hernandez was the Swiss Army knife. We know that. He played so many different roles and, a really young, valuable player. You can't just replace a guy like that. But, they still have number 12, obviously. They still have a great offensive line and a great running game. So when you look at the strength of the offense, clearly it's that right now, not the tight end situation and not wide receiver. So I don't think it's going to be, throwing 50 times a game and, running lots of no huddle, 90 plays a game. I think they might have to go back to what was successful for them a decade ago when they're winning Super Bowl titles: running game, ball control, play action, grind the clock, and win games with their defense and like I said, with the running game. So I think they're going to have to emphasize that at least early in the season until Brady can figure out which of his receivers he really trusts.
Yeah, that would certainly put some pressure and some onus on Stephen Ridley, who had a great year last year, 1,300 yards. That is certainly one way to go. I think it's hard for them, though, when they start sitting down, when McDaniels and Belichick, they sit down, they start drawing up a game plan. it's hard to say we're going to have a game plan that takes the ball out of Tom Brady's hands. I think that's a tough thing for them to do. In some ways, I think this could be similar to the 06 season. He has better weapons. I mean, that year, Benjamin Watson was supposed to be the number one receiver. If Gronk comes back and is 80% of what he was before, he's certainly better than Benjamin Watson and better than anything they had in 2006. So that's big, and we'll see what Danny Amendola does. Certainly talented. Can he stay healthy? When I look at this team, the question is where it's been since probably 2009, the defense. How much better do you think this defense will be, and is it capable of carrying a little bit more of a load if they're not a team that can slap 30 on the board every game?
Well, I think a lot of it's going to come down to the pass rush. They were very middle of the road last year in terms of getting pressure. I think they were 16th in number of sacks. Then we factor in that teams are passing on them a lot in the second half because the Patriots are ahead. When you sacks per pass attempt, the Patriots are really in the bottom third of the league last year. Chandler Jones certainly I think is going to step up in his second year and have a big season. I think he had 6 sacks last year. I expect him to approach double digits this year. They're going to need more from Rob Ninkovich, Jamie Collins, the kid they drafted in the second round.
They'd like to get an interior pass rush too. With
Absolutely.
Kelly and Armstead. They've wanted that for years.
No doubt. I think Tommy Kelly can be a big factor in that sense. So I think it all comes down to the pass rush. And then, assuming Alfonso Dennard sticks around, and he's going to get suspended anywhere from probably 2 to 4 games, but assuming he comes back and he's healthy, I actually think the defensive backfield is going to be a lot better this year. McCourty's a year better. You got Adrian Wilson back there now. Aqib Talib's going to be in the system for an entire year. So to me, I think the defense all comes down to the pass rush, whether they can get consistent pressure on the quarterback. And if they can, that defense is going to magically look a lot better.
You mentioned Dennard and his situation. Obviously, he was in court yesterday as well. August 12th, he has another hearing, and then August 29th, I believe it is, he has the probation hearing. Because he's a question mark to start the season, I think that puts the spotlight on that cornerback position in training camp. So we'll start there. Besides cornerback, what other position battles are you looking at in training camp, guys that maybe can make some waves here? We'll start at corner.
Cornerback is huge, obviously, and Dennard is going to practice as the starter. He's got an August 12th and August 27th court dates that he's got to work around, but I imagine he's going to work as a starter. And they got Arrington and Tavon Wilson and Greg. I mean, they got all these guys in the defensive backfield. McCourty can play corner if he has to. They have a lot of guys they can mix and match in the defensive backfield. I'm not as worried about that as much as I am wide receiver. I mean, that is clearly the number one camp battle right now, and who's going to emerge? I mean, we know Amendola is going to be the slot guy, but Michael Jenkins, the veteran, is he going to be the starter on the outside? How about the rookies with Aaron Dobson, the second rounder, and Josh Boyce, the fourth rounder? How are they going to adapt and adjust to the NFL so quickly? You've got some undrafted guys, Ken Burrell Thompson. They're still looking at veterans. They've been looking at LaRon Robinson and Austin Collie. They're clearly not settled at wide receiver right now. To me, that's the number one issue in camp, is who's going to catch the passes that Tom Brady's throwing.
Yeah, that's a good one. And just to swing back to corner, I think it's a big camp for Razai Dowling. This guy was a second-round pick. He was the first pick of the second round. He has not shown much in his first couple of years in the league. I think it's a big camp for him, maybe an opportunity. I had Logan Ryan, a guy that they drafted this year. I think an opportunity for him to see what the depth situation is there. So I have my eye on that. Also, another couple of former second-round picks, Jake Beckett and Jermaine Cunningham, guys who are competing to back up Ninkovich and Chandler Jones on the outside, on the edge there. I think big camps for both of those guys, an opportunity for them to maybe solidify themselves and carve out a role in the team.
Yeah, Cunningham especially now in his fourth year, I think it's really make or break for him. Entering his contract year really has been a disappointment, I think, in his Patriot career. Has not panned out as a second pick would. And same with Jake Beckett, actually. He needs to step up too in this camp. I'm surprised. I saw him in college at Arkansas, and I saw him absolutely dominate Tebow one game and just knocked him silly. And I'm surprised that he struggled here with the Patriots a little bit. Pass rusher, tight end is another big one. Gronk is going to be back at some point, but they got to find whether it's going to be Human or Fells. Or I actually really like this rookie, Zach Sudfeld.
Yeah, Brady mentioned him by name, which I found interesting. Mentioned him by name when talking about replacing, guys at the tight end position, building some depth.
Yeah, I think at some point we're going to be calling him Zach Studfeld because this is the kid who's 6'7". He's a really good athlete. He can catch passes in the red zone, and he's really good at blocking. I did a story earlier this summer about how he was far and away the best blocking tight end in the draft, and just really gets after it. So he's a guy. He has an extensive injury history, a lot of breaks, a lot of bad luck in college. He played for 6 years. So that's why he went undrafted. If he can stay healthy, I really think Zach Sudfeld is going to make an impact this year.
Yeah, I misspoke. Beckett is a third-round pick, but still a big camp for him. And just the last, what do you see at the safety position? I think McCourty is sort of ensconced at one spot, but the other spot I think is open. Adrian Wilson, Tavon Wilson is there as well. Steve Gregory is still here. Deron Harmon is here. I think that's another camp battle. Who's opposite McCourty? Who has the advantage there?
I would say the advantage certainly is going to go to Adrian Wilson to start with. I think they gave him $1 million signing bonus. You don't give $1 million to a guy who you don't expect to be on the team. So he's certainly not a long-term option. That's why they drafted Deron Harmon. But I do think Adrian Wilson certainly gives him a physical, like, eighth defender in the box type of safety. They might take him out on passing plays because clearly I think over 30 years old now, his speed isn't quite there. So, he might come out in the nickel or dime package. But certainly in the run game, I think Adrian Wilson is going to be the starter.
Yeah, so certainly a lot of just on the football side. I know we haven't talked a lot of football here, and quite honestly, with good reason, given the gravity of what's transpired this summer for the Patriots. But tomorrow, I think some of the focus will shift back to football when they are on the field for the first practice that is open to the public here at Gillette Stadium. That is scheduled for 9 a.m. tomorrow here at Gillette Stadium. That's going to wrap it up for us here on Boston Sports Live. Thank you very much for watching. Don't go anywhere, though. Keep it locked on Boston.com for all the latest updates on what's going on with the Patriots, the Aaron Hernandez case, and anything else in the world of Boston sports. Also, big baseball game tonight scheduled at Fenway.